Good evening, sir.
Good evening. We'll wait for another 5 minutes, then we'll start.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we should be starting now. Okay. Good evening, all. So
Good
I'll
evening.
start from where I left yesterday.
Yes, sir. Unit 4, I think. This
Yes,
part.
yes. Dispersion of toxic substances. Here we left yesterday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, so environmental toxicology, if you see, is a multidisciplinary field of science concerned with the study of harmful effect of various biological, physical agents, and chemical substances on living organisms. Okay, we mainly learn all these, the effect of toxicants on environment in ecotoxicology. And is subdiscipline of environmental toxicology concerned with studying the harmful effect of toxicants at the level of pollution and ecosystem. Rachel Kelson, the mother of environmental toxicology, made ecotox a distance field in 1962 through her book Silent Spring, and the unit gives a basic overview on the fundamental of human ecosystem and occupational toxicology. These only we discuss in this unit. Okay. And other topics like biodegradation of substances, bioaccumulation, and effect at ecosystem level are elaborated in light examples. Okay. First is global dispersion of toxic substances. In the world, one of the largest chemical generating province is Europe and having almost 38% of global turnover supply. The chemical strength of EU GDP has been increased since 1993 both for all chemicals as well as for production of hazardous substances. Okay, mainly the chemicals, the hazardous the chemicals which are produced out of which there are many hazardous substances, which like pesticides, insecticides, paints, and everything. Okay, so in the European market, around 20 to 70,000 groups of substances or substances, and many are being derived from chlorine-based organic chemistry. Okay, so very few are aware about the toxicities, ecotoxicities, or risks associated from most of these substances. So data on the quantitative of toxic substances produced on marketed are in general of less use for predicting the dispersion and potential exposure. Okay, so the data which is present, okay, uh, is used for prediction is data which are in the generally of little use. We cannot use the data because the data is not complete. Okay, so yet it is difficult to estimate due to the increase in non-point sources of emission and recycle processes. Despite improvement in multimedia modeling, information related to degradation or biodegradation, transformation, byproducts, and exposure to mixture is also poor. So mostly available monitoring program focus on mobile media, water and air, but often neglect sediment, soils and consumer products. Okay. So any monitoring which we see, they mainly focuses on the water and air, but they do not focus on the neglect sediments like soil and consumer products. Burning of fossil fuel and other organic fuel is also thought to account for more than 90% of the environmental load of 280 types of carcinogen, okay, or polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, polychlorinated dihydrogen and p-toxins, which are mainly from air emission and waste, are significant falls in but falling in most countries. So during paste application, because of losses from washing, volatilization less than 5% of pressure applied can reach the intended target depending on weather conditions. Okay. So, according to the current trade policy continues, could be a growth of 30 to 50% in chemical output from most of the European countries as a result of increased economic activity, including transportation by road and product from agriculture. Mercury, cadmium, chromium, copper, lead, etc. emissions are expected to increase many times than the present, and same countries even planning to phase out these substances. So, emission from pesticides, fertilizers, and dioxin, furans, and PCBs will continue to decrease, but concentration of pH, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, hexachlorine benzene (HCB), and xylene emission are likely to increase. So, when you are decreasing one toxic substance, we are increasing the other toxic substance. However, the impact of some emerging trends in the management of chemicals, such as eco-efficiency improvement, a shift from product to service, greater use of precautionary to assign external environment cost into price, by tax, etc., increase evidence on low dose effect, increase information to the public. These are the things which are currently being done to aware public about the harmful effect. Circulation mechanism and exposure pathway of toxic substances. So, how toxic substances are exposed, or how we are exposed to toxic substances. The circulating mechanism of pollution refers to the pathway when an individual comes in exposure with this hazardous material. So, first is direct exposure. Exposure agent and high dose rate are often associated with a simple and single pathway. For example, the highest intake of chemical release into air will be entering through direct inhalation or eye contact. These are the true ways. This is the way in which a person comes in direct contact with the what chemical or pollutant. Next is indirect exposure. Low dose rate of exposure to agents are often associated with multiple complexes and indirect pathway. An example is chemical can be transferred from air to soil and then followed to vehicles and buildings or deposits on vegetable and transferred to the food. Like we are having getting pesticide entering our body due to spray of pesticide on the crops. Okay. Then soil contaminated bound to soil particles can be resuspended and inhaled along the fine particles. Another way. Then thermal exposure to contaminants in soil can occur during a variety of activities during a disposition. Adult who is working outside can have rather high soil loaded on their skin. Okay. Lipid soluble chemicals have a strong tendency to move from soil layer on the skin surface to the lipid rich layer of the human being. So these are such indirect contact, then contamination in vegetation can be transferred to food products. Then the volatile contaminant vapors can be transferred through diffusion through soil, pores, space into buildings. And the ratio of contaminants concentration in indoor air to absorbed contaminants concentration in gas phase of solid requires three major components. First is distance between the source of contamination and the foundation of the building, soil permeability, and the crack area in the foundation related to the total area of the foundation. So these are the processes by which your substances get exposed. The way people or other living will come in contact with toxic or hazardous substances is called exposure, basically by inhalation through breathing, ingestion by eating or drinking, then direct contact or normal contact means the substances which enter our body through our skin or which get absorbed in our skin. We call them as dermal contact or direct contact. The most common route of exposure is to inhalation, as mostly chemicals are in forms of fumes, mist, gases, or particles. There are general chemicals, biological agents, physical properties, and radiation in nature. Then toxicity is the degree to which an organism can get exposed to chemical substances or toxic compounds. Then chemicals from leaking landfills or dumps, spilled or leaking containers, through spraying or released from smoke tags can be released into air, water or soil. These chemicals follow a path from their outlet to the point of contact by human. Then contaminants are the substances which enter into, I have already discussed about it, what are contaminants. No need to again discuss. Then exposure to the contaminants and the contamination must be toxic. So for a disease to occur, a complete exposure pathway must be followed. Elements of the exposure pathway are as follows: organs, origin or source from where the contaminant enters the environment. This is the pathway. Then Media for transfer of the contaminant to the environment. Then point of exposure, how a person comes in contact with the contaminant. Then route of exposure, the way contaminant enter or moves in the body. Then population receptor, how the people is susceptible to the contaminant. Moreover, whether exposure of the substance causes disease toxicity depends on the dose of the contaminant, the duration of exposure, the pathway of exposure through breathing, eating, or contact through the skin. So these are the different way by which one can get exposed directly. Then an individual characteristics such as sex, age, genetic trait, life science, nutrition status, and general health condition. These also help. Okay. So this is it has given source. Pesticide and fertilizer applied in the land. Okay. What it happens? It seeps to the groundwater. Okay. And this groundwater then pesticide, fertilizer, and sediments run up into the river. Okay, they also enter the river. Okay, then groundwater pollution abstract at the local water treatment work. Okay, pollution surface water abstract at the water treatment work. Okay, receptor. This is the water tank from which water is taken for drinking. See, and this is the source, and this is the pathway by which what these contaminant enter the water and get circulated. So to know it is must to know the circulation path only. Then only we can what we can do. We can stop the contamination from moving in the system. So for this for achieving this goal, following are required: selection of harmful agent to be monitored. So we should be monitoring harmful agent strictly. Identification of potential environmental pathways. Pathways should be identified. Detection of toxic agent along the pathway. In the pathway which has a toxic agent, they should be detected. Regular tracking of the concentration of an agent. What is the concentration agent should be regularly tracked. Tracking the exposure and contact of groups with these concentration of the agent. Okay, these so to analyze the degree or extent of exposure can be determined by measuring the hazardous substances concentration at the point of contact. The complete pathway of exposure must have four different parts. So what are these four different parts? First is contamination source, from where the contamination is coming. The mechanism for transport of the toxin substance, like air, sediment, surface water, groundwater. Then point of contact with people, entry route, how it is entering. So determination of emergency reason action is an important consideration in the exposure pathway of a hazardous substance. This is referred as the way in which a person can come in contact with a hazardous material. So the degree of exposure is known by measuring the amount of the hazardous material at the point of contact. Then degradable and non-degradable toxic substances in the food chain. I have already told you what are degradable substances. Any substance which is natural and can be degraded using natural condition is called a degradable. Any substance which persists in the nature are non-degradable substances or non-degradable toxins. So toxins which are naturally produced or biotoxins, they are degradable, but which are chemically produced or which are xenobiotic, they are non-degradable toxins. So when we are exposed to such things, so there are many toxins and toxicants which broadly act on mutagens, causing yesterday also I have told. Then tetragens causing birth defect and malfunctioning embryo, carcinogen causing cancer, and other can also interrupt explic metabolic pathway and lead to dysfunction of the particular biological system, such as hepatic, nervous system, kidneys, etc. Diet is the main toxin for human body because diet play important role in exposed the body in different metabolic groups or toxic substances and anthropogenic toxicants like pesticide, food processing residues, drugs, industrial waste, or some non-food plant source like heavy metals, mercury, lead, cadmium, cobalt, chromium, etc. Also released into the environment by man at potential dangerous level and find their way into the human diet as well. So biodegradable toxic substances are defined as substances which get decomposed by the action of bacteria, fungi and other living organisms. Temperature and light and sunlight beat part in the decomposition of biodegradable substances. Non-biodegradable material matter persist for a long period and if they are noxious in nature may contaminate the environment and cause harmful effect on the organism in the environment. So which are non-biodegradable substances, they will persist in the nature and cause damage to other organisms. This is showing the pollution due to microplastic in the aquatic environment and impact on the food chain. How we are dumping the plastic in our nearby water bodies, due to which the fish, the marine life is affected, and due to which all the mussels in their place start migrating from there. So this is how your marine ecosystem get polluted by plastic by throwing our waste and plastic waste into the river. That river finally enters into sea where it dumps all this waste which we have thrown into the river. Then chemicals are depleted other organochlorine pesticides are not suitable in water but are dissolved in fat. So when human and other animals get exposed to these substances, they tend to distribute. Yeah, they get if exposed is continuous accumulated occurs at the toxic substances get accumulated inside the body and is known as bioaccumulation. So if this substance is getting accumulated in the body, we call it as a bioaccumulation. And the accumulation and concentration of chemical in the environment moves to the food chain and can be known as bioaccumulation and biomagnification because the amount of substance in the particular substance in the body increases, so it becomes biomagnification. Then animals like fish eating birds at the top of the level of the food chain acquire the highest concentration of the chemicals because they are accumulated in those animals. These are chemical substances in nature which gets quickly broken down into harmless substances and so are persistent and do not break. Instead, they cause bioaccumulation, especially in top predator. Example of two species toxic material are mercury and DDT. Just a minute. Then ecosystem influences on fate and transport of toxins. Ecosystem actually play a major role how the toxin get transported, okay, and how it get degraded. Okay, harmful substances through different abiotic factors like air, water, and land, etc. Therefore, environmental media is referred to as abiotic component of the natural environment, such as air, water, and land. So exposure to toxic agent is defined as a term in the contact between the agent and the exterior surface of the body. Contact point like skin and opening in the body like mouth and nostril. Drinking water, polluted water, then important components of the exposure assigned to a transformation process, source of emission factor, then exposure route and pathway of intake or uptake. Then the following factors which should include for the calculation of important descending order. First is physiochemical properties and concentration of the agent. Then route of exposure, scale of time, space for concentration of an agent. Then exposure duration, how long you were exposed. Then potential health effect on time scale means with more exposure how it is reactive. Contribution of environmental media means how the environmental conditions are contributing. Then exposure medium, demographic factors like age, gender, etc. of the exposed individual. Means we know that we all are humans of different age and different sex. So the same toxin will have different effect on different human beings. These all I've already discussed and no more discussing it, like the exposure pathway, time of exposure and all these things. Then transport and dispersion of toxic substance in air. So atmospheric means all the gaseous substances, okay, are mainly or aerosols and gaseous are substances, they are only dispersed through air. Okay. The standard model for estimating the time and space distribution of agent to the atmosphere are Gaussian statistical solution of the atmospheric diffusion equation. The standard for estimation of space-time can be done using Gaussian statistical solution. Okay, if a Gaussian equation is there, which is used to calculate how things are being distributed in the atmosphere. Then transfer and disposal of toxic substances is water. Okay, the any substance which is water soluble get transported through water either through point and non-point sources. Domestic waste is one of the largest source of contaminants in waste in many countries. Point source such as domestic water waste or industrial wastewater treatment facilities occur at a specific site along surface water. So non-point source of water contaminants by runoff from large urban and agricultural areas, and it's very difficult because of their diffusion nature. The chemical biology agents behave in surface water is determined by the rate of physical transport in the water system and chemical reactivity. Physical transport procedure and dependence to a large extent on the type of body of water like ocean, sea, estuary, lake, river or wetland. Then dispersion on land including soil and vegetation. Then the mixing of air, water, minerals and organic components in soil determines to a large extent how a chemical or organism added to the soil will be transported and or transformed. Then this is the dispersion to land. Then soil, how it is mixing with the minerals of the soil and water, the air in the soil. It will decide how it will be transported in soil. Then transformation of process of toxic substances. In outward and inward environment can have a intensive impact on their possibility for persistence in the environment exposure. Amassing and dispersion due to transformation of chemical and biological substances. Chemical transformation occurs due to biotic or abiotic processes. It can affect the amount of a matter or mutate its surface structure in such a method to increase or decrease its noxiousness or change up to a great extent. Okay, so how that substance is reacting with the nature, that will decide how it will transform itself. Exposure pathway, we have already discussed this. Okay, like it could be a skin, it could be our mouth, it could be nose, it could be ears. Okay, bio sortation of the heavy metals. Heavy metals term refers to the somewhat metallic chemicals, low concentration component which have a comparatively high density and is noxious or lethal. So bioaccumulation of heavy metals from every even very dilute aqueous solution. So the biomass with these abilities acting as a chemical substance as an ion exchanger of biological origin. Okay, and it will disrupt cellular structure of certain algae, bacteria, fungi, and found responsible for bioabsorption of heavy metals. In biosolvent material, biological material like certain microorganisms abstract bioabsorbent behavior for metallic ion, which is the characteristics of microbial cell composition. Means these uh, microbial organisms, they like to absorb the material, so they act as a biosolvent, means absorbent, biological absorbent or biosolvent. Okay, these cells, what they do, they can easily absorb these substances into them. This kind of solvent is made up of lifeless and inactive cells. Few solvents collectively, mostly heavy metals with wide range binding without definite activity, while others are excreted from certain heavy metals. According to environmental hazardness, the main categories are 1 and 3, that are main force focus for eliminating from origin to effluent discharge. Then bioaccumulation, as the name says, bioaccumulation. Bio means biology, accumulation means to get deposited. Okay, so what happens? We all are living organisms which are we are interrelated with each other. Okay, due to which we all depend on our autotrophs for our food. Those who can only harvest your sun's energy. So what happens? These microbes or plants or algae, what they do, they many times act as a biosolvent and absorb the substances inside them. Okay, so when we eat that substances, it get accumulated in us. So as the accumulation is in a biological organism, we call it as a bioaccumulation. See, this is the bioaccumulation. In first case, there is almost no accumulation or very less. These pieces eat this one, so their accumulation increase. Then these pieces eat this one, so accumulation increase more. And finally, the highest. Here also, see the streams, they contain very small amount of the substance, but these pieces will eat many of these streams, so the accumulation increase. And these where we eat more of these, and this whale or seal will be eaten by a polar bear. So when the oxygen reaches the polar bear, it is actually increases 10 to 12 fold. Then biomagnification, as is bioaccumulation, same way it is biomagnification. It is also known as biological magnification or bioamplification. It is defined as the increased concentration of toxic chemical in the tissue of biotics as consecutive. Every upper toxin level is in a food chain. They get gradually higher in concentration because they are fused in the food or lower organism like zooplankton, as I told you, which are which are food of new tropic level for fish. So what happens? These lower organisms take it in less amount, but when it reaches higher tropic level, it increases the amount. That is why we call it as a biomagnification. Example is mercury present in minute concentration in seawater. Algae absorb it in form of methyl mercury. It is very slowly excreted by organism. This results in the bioaccumulation and bioabsorption in the fat tissue of successive tropical level. Then zooplankton or small nectar, small large fish also they also help in biomagnification. DDT also in the same way becomes biomagnified. So this was all about in the unit 4 about bioaccumulation, okay, distribution, sources and everything. Any doubts you can ask, otherwise I'll move to the next block. No doubts? So should I move to the next block?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Our next block, that is block 2, contains 3 units. Block 2, these are the unit 5, 6, 7, human health, environment quality and human health, and public health and management. These three we will learn today. So, here first unit explains the key concept of determinants and definition of health and well-being of individuals and kind of health determinants. Then unit 6, foundation of environment and health, impact of environment factors on human health and human environment interaction. Okay. And unit 7 explains the importance of public health surveillance, control. Then unit 7 explains the unit 6 foundation of the environment health, impact of environment factors on human health, human environment interaction, and factors affecting human health. And unit 7 they explains the importance of the public health surveillance, control of severe infectious disease, community initiatives, and environmental health economics and policies. So first, we will start with unit 6, unit 5. Human health. We all know what is health. So, what is health? Health is the universal phenomenon I am at achieving physical, mental, and social well-being. If we are at a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, we call it as healthy. Okay, helping prosperous and wellness in people, and healthy people contribute himself, his family, and society in terms of personal. Today, I make almost. Are you doing it nowadays? Okay. So in this way, an individual productivity as well as quality of life improves. It is an indispensable component of life that affects the quality of everyone's life experience. So health means everyone's achieving his or own potential to enjoy complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Health is an asset for human development. Okay, only healthy person can do some good things because otherwise, if you are not healthy, okay, you cannot concentrate on what you are doing. Okay, the concept of health. There are various concepts in evolution of health. From the ancient era, health is an important aspect of all culture and communities. At that time, every community used to adopt their own concept of health. With the advancement years, various concepts of health have been moved forward. Concept of health is to be understood by every individual. So health does not mean same for everyone, including various professional groups, biomedical scientists, social sciences specialists, health administration, etc. The evolution of the concept of health have been a dynamic issue that keeps changing from an individual concern to a worldwide social goal and human rights. Some concepts of health are supernatural theory of disease. Most basic concepts of health are merely absence of disease. In this era, health and harmony was related to good and God and cosmos, so we call it a supernatural theory of disease. So, if an individual occurs in the culture, then the people used to blame the individual having cause of God and so he suffered. So he suffered. So the ancient Indian and Greek literature reveals that disease is simply a disturbance in the bodily equilibrium of what they called as humus. And wherever these arises, maladjust, maladjustment of equilibrium need to be. So this was the concept of supernatural theory of disease. Then germ theory, where after invention of microbiology, when we came to know that germs are the causative agent of any disease, we postulated germ theory of disease. It stated many diseases are caused by microorganisms, and microorganisms are also continuous, and microorganisms are those organisms which cannot be seen by naked eye. That is why we call them microorganisms. Okay, because we cannot see them through naked eye, but we can only see them through microscope. These used to invade human organism and other living hosts, and these their growth and this reproduction within the host can cause a disease. Okay, the which we mainly get. These are microbial diseases which we get when the organism infects us. Then biomedical concept around the mid 19th century, biochemical models have come. This was most widely used by physicians. His model states that health consisting the freedom from disease, pain, or defect, making the normal human condition health. It focuses on the physical processes or a so this model and it focuses on the physical processes as a cause of the disease. Leucemia is this in this concept is that the minimizing the role of environmental, social, and physiochemical and cultural determinants. It was insufficient to answer some uh, other major health problems are malnutrition and chronic disease, accident, drug abuse, mental illness, environmental pollution, and population explosion. These are the main cause why. Then ecological concept of health. Previously, models are unable to answer many questions regarding disease causation. So according to this concept, is viewed as a dynamic equilibrium between man and his environment, and the disease are maladjustment of the human organism to environment. So, so if this equilibrium is disturbed, then disease occurs. The major limitation of this model was that it was limited to man and its environment only. Otherwise, you cannot use. Then physico-chemical concept. Many research studies provide that health is not influenced by only individual and his environment, but many factors also play a crucial role in the disease causation. Therefore, it was realized that health is both a biological and social phenomenon. Because you may be in a very good apartment, but if your health is not good, you will not feel good. Okay, that's why if you are playing with the phone and it gets fall, if it falls from a hand and it's broken. So there also it is a phenomenon where biological and social phenomenon both are involved. So holistic concept or newer research documents that health cannot be considered as an isolated phenomenon, that it is a amalgamation of physical, mental, social, economic, political, and environmental factors. They all may combine to give what is we call it as health. So changing the definition of health. So who defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So in recent years, this statement has been amplified to include the ability to lead a socially and economically producing class. Hmm. So, model for definition of health. Medicinal model, the absence of disease or disability is medicinally you are healthy. WHO state of complete physical, mental, and social wellness. WHO being and not merely the absence of then WHO being and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Their wellness model, health promotion, and progress towards. So, wellness model, health promotes and progress towards higher function, energy, confirms and integration of the mind, body, and spirit. Environmental model, adaptation to physical and social surrounding, a balance free from undue pain, discomfort, or disability. So, these are all the definition according to different branch of environmental science and biology. So just as there was a shift from a being disease at the state of thinking of it as a process, the same shift happens in the definition of health also. Okay, so the extent to which an individual or group is able to realize aspiration and satisfy need and to change or cope with the environment. So health is the resource for living everyday's life, not the objection of the living organism. So health is a resource for everyday's life, not the objection of living. It is a positive concept emphasizing social and personal resources as well as physical capacity. So introduction to positive health. So after several criteria who defined of health, various scientific purposes, the concept of the positive health. The state of positive health implies the notion of perfect functioning of body and mind. In conceptual health, biologically, as a state in where cells and every organ is functioning at the optimal capacity and is perfect harmony with the rest of the body. Psychological, as a state in which the individual feels a sense of perfecting well-being and of mastery over his environment and society as a state in which hmm, then as a state in which every say okay environmental and social. Then dimensions of health. As you know that health is multidimensional. Units to some important. First is physical dimension, the state of physical health. Implies the notion of perfect functioning of the body. Then the component of physical health can be achieved by lifestyle changes. Then the components of physical health. Physical health can be achieved by lifestyle changes. Healthy lifestyle can be adopted in the following way. Physical activity means we should always do physical works like cycling, jogging, walking, brisk walking, vigorous like muscle stretching, weightlifting. Then nutritional diet, we should always have a balanced diet in our food. Okay, and drink 6 to 8 liters of water daily. And alcohol and drugs, we should never take these substances, alcohol, drugs. Okay, avoid it. The long-term use and heavy use can lead to various illness. Then comes medical and self-care. Basic items such as bandages, lozenges, and over-the-component pain relieving medication should be easily accessible for home. And long-term coughing, fever, or other elements should be addressed through the primary care. Okay, this should also be there. But in our case, we do not go to the primary care. We go to the Har Ghar Doctor program. We have. Do you all know or not Har Ghar Doctor? Does anyone knows what is Har Ghar Doctor? See, our Har Ghar Doctor is we people instead of going to a doctor, we go and ask whom the medicine store people. That is our Har Ghar Doctor. Okay, we should never be doing that. Okay,
Okay, sir.
rest and sleep while regular activity is essential for physical health. Allowing the body to rest is also important for your but body. Spending time relaxing or taking short naps can help rejuvenate the body. Sleep should take place in a quiet, dark environment and should be have approximately 7 to 9 hours. Who is able to get 7 to 9 hours sleep? Anyone who is present here is getting this much of sleep?
No, sir.
We are not
Yes.
getting
So
tired.
see, yes, it is. So we are not healthy. First, we should check this. At least we should sleep 7 to 9 hours a day. Okay. So before teaching, we should first telling others. We should first implement in our case. Okay. From now on, we all will have a rest of 7 to 9 hours sleep. Okay. Now, no, not even in a stretch, but in short naps also. Sleep should be taken in a quiet, and it is here spending time relaxing or taking short naps. Like Bidu Sahasrabuddhe, you must have seen virus. He used to take nap in his room. Like that nap we should be taking also. But we should have approximately 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Then physical health assessment. To assess physical health, following tests can be done. General assessment, it includes weight, height, body mass BMI and reflex test. Then disease risk factor assessment includes blood pressure, cholesterol and blood glucose test. Then fitness assessment include body composition, flexibility, muscular strength and endurance test. Okay, all these tests we should do. Then mental dimension, mental health is a state of balance, state of mind. If mental health is disturbed, then it has effects on behavioral, physical, and biological health. In social dimension, social well-being simply means interaction between self and his environment. It implies harmony and integration within the individual, between each individual and other member of the society. Then spiritual, like yoga and everything, this dimension of newly introduced into our health system. Spiritual health refers to the part of the individual which reaches out and strives for meaning and purpose in life, including integrated principle of ethics, purpose in life, commitment to some higher being, and belief in concepts that are not subjected to state of art explanation. Then emotional dimensions. Emotional health is related to feeling. It means the extent to which an individual is emotionally stable with self and his surrounding environment. Then vocational dimension is a part of human existence where work is fully adapted to human goal capacity and limitation. Work often play a role in promoting both physical and mental health. Then determinants of the health. See, these are the determinants of health. This is the lifestyle. Okay, general, social, economic, cultural, environmental conditions, living and working condition, working environment, education, agriculture and food, unemployment. So in the right side is unemployment, water and sanitation, healthcare services and housing, social and community network, individual lifestyle factors, age, sex and condition of the factors. Okay. But this is social, general social, economic, culture, and environmental conditions. This is linking environment and human health. How we are related, human health is related to the environment. So determinants of health fall under the following major headings: biological and genetics, individual behavior, environmental conditions, social factor, health services, policy making, and others. First is biological and genetics. The physical and mental traits of every human being are determined at their birth only, at the time of conception. These characters will depend on nature of the gene. So the gene makeup is unique, is that it cannot be altered after conception. So in current era, medical genetics and gene therapy is a new revolution in medical field. These provide prevention and treatment of wide spectrum disease such as chromosomal anomalies, means there is problem in the chromosome, errors of metabolism, mental retardation, some types of diabetes, etc. Okay. Thus, from the gene standpoint, age may be defined as the state of individual which is based upon the genetic constituent of such genes and corresponds to characters that forms the serious defects and rearrangements and to the absence of any aberration in respect to total amount of chromosome material in the karyotype or stated in the positive term from the presence in the genetic constituent of the gene that corresponds to the normal characterization and to the presence of normal karyotype. So, if you have a normal gene without any defect and a normal karyotype, okay, then we call, and you have the total amount of chromosome material, there is no aberration. Okay, aberration means any difference in the number of the gene or any malfunction in the gene, then we call it is as a healthy person. Okay, this is a genetic point of view. Then individual behavior also play a crucial role in health outcome. The term lifestyle is rather a diffuse concept often used to denote the way people live, reflecting a whole range of social values, attitudes, and activities. So lifestyles are not inborn characters of any individual. It is acquired through social interaction with parents, peer groups, friends, and siblings, and through school and mass media. Many public health and healthcare interventions focus on changing individual behavior, such as substance abuse, diet, and physical activities. So, for example, if an individual quits smoking, he or his or her risk of developing heart disease is greatly reduced. Okay, so we should avoid harmful habits so that we can have a longer lifespan. The positive changes in individual behavior can reduce the rate of chronic disease in the country. In low-income countries like India, many unhealthy lifestyles are prevailing from ancient times, such as lack of sanitation, poor nutrition, personal hygiene, elementary human habits, customs, and cultural patterns. Adopting healthy lifestyle is a prerequisite for attainment of positive health that brings prosperity and development of any nation. Then environmental condition that we have been discussing from yesterday. Each and every component part, every tissue, organ and organ system and their harmonic function within the system is called as environmental condition which should be good. All that which is external to the individual human host. Then social factors, social determinants of health reflects the social factor and physical condition of the environment in which people are born, live, learn, play, work, and age, also known as social physical determinants of health. The example are availability of resources to meet daily needs, or we should have enough for our daily needs such as education and job opportunities, living wages, and healthful food. Social norms and attitudes such as discrimination, exposure to crime, violence, and social disorders such as the presence of trash and social support and social interactions. Then exposure to mass media and emerging technologies such as internet or cell phones. Socio-economic conditions such as concentrated poverty. Then quality schools, transportation options, public safety, residential segregation. An example of physical determinants, natural environments such as plant, weather or climatic change, built environments such as building or transportation, work site, school and recreational settings, house, homes and neighborhoods, exposure to toxic substances and other physical hazards, physical barriers, especially for people with disability, aesthetic elements such as good lighting, trees or benches. Okay, these are all coming under what? Your social factors for a healthy person. Then health services. The purpose of health services is to improve the health status of the population. Thus, health service should be easily available to all the individuals. So, barrier to access health services include lack of availability, lack of insurance coverage, high costs, etc. These barriers to accessing health services lead to unmet health needs, delay in receiving appropriate care, inability to get preventive services, hospitalization that could have been prevented. Then policy making. Health is also related to country's policy system. For success of any policy or program, politically will and committee is very essential. Many crucial decisions like resource allocation, manpower policy, choice of technique, etc., is to be taken by policymaker. Like during Navin Sarkar, we had Biju Swasthya Kalyan Yojana, which is a policy, public policy meant for giving what healthcare to poor peoples. Okay, so these types of policies are also needed. So the WHO has said the target of at least 5% expenditure of each country's GNP on healthcare. Have India spends about 2% of its GNP on health and family welfare? Because we all of us in our country do not have a health policy. But who is then other factors? Other factors uh, contributing to human health are various health-related systems like food and agriculture, education, social welfare, rural development, gender aging of the population. Okay. Then concept of well-being. Well-being or wellness refer to the diversity and interconnection dimension of physical, mental, and social well-being that extend beyond the traditional definition of the health. It includes choice and activities aimed at achieving physical vitality, mental alkalinity, social satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment, and personal fulfillment. Researchers from different disciplines have examined different aspects of well-being. That includes physical well-being, economical well-being, social well-being, developmental and activities, emotional well-being, physiological well-being, life satisfaction, dominance passive satisfaction, engaging activities, and work. So, standard of life. Standard of living generally refers to the living of wealthy, comfort, material, good, and necessity available to a certain socio-economic class in a certain geographical area. So, an evaluation of standard of living commonly includes the factors such as infrastructure, climate, income level, education, poverty, affordable access to quality health care, and economic and political stability. So, when you think about standard of living, you can think about things that are easy to quantify. Level of living, it consists of 9 components. First is your quality of life, which means the condition of life resulting from the combination effect of complete range of factors such as those determining health and happiness. Then the physical quality of life index (PQLI) is an attempt to measure the quality of life or well-being of a country. Then quality of life index (PQLI) includes the three indicators like life expectancy, infant mortality rate, and the literacy rate. For each indicator, we devise a scale which includes number ranging from 1 to 1000, where 1 represents the worst performance by any country and 100 is the best performance. Thus, PPLI consists of three indicators: infant tenure, life expectancy at age, and one and literacy. It does not consist per capita GNP, showing thereby that money is not everything. For example, the oil-rich countries of Middle East with high per capita income have not very high PQL, while on the other hand, Kerala and Sri Lanka have low per capita income with high PQL. Now, the essence of PPLI is that it does not measure economic growth, rather, it measures the results of social, economic, and political policies. Then, Human Development Index (HDI) was developed by the United Nations as a metric to assess the social and economic development or levels of the countries. Four principal areas of examination are used to rank countries: means years of schooling, expected years of schooling, life expectancy at birth, and gross national income per capita. This index makes it possible to follow changes in the development level over time and to compare the development level of different countries. So here is a dimension: long and healthy life, knowledge, decent standard of living. Indicator is life expectancy at birth, means year of schooling, expected year of schooling, GNP per capita, PPS, then dimension index, health index, education index, income index. So finally, it gives to human development index. So HDI is essential summary measurement of basic achievements of level in the fundamental dimension of human development. The computed HDI of a country is a geometric mean of normalized index of each of the life aspects that are examined. So, a long and healthy life and an acceptable standard of living (HDI) ranges between 0 to 1. India comes in the medium human development category, ranking at number 130. So, the health aspect of the HDI is measured by the life expectancy as calculated at time of birth in each country. Education is measured on two levels: the mean year of schooling for residents of the country and the expected year of schooling that a child has to as at the average age of starting school. The metric chosen to represent standards of living GNI per capita based on purchasing power parity PPP, a common metric used to reflect average income. Concept of disease and causation. So, a condition of the body or an organ of the body in which its function are disrupted or degrade is called as disease. So, for an ecology point of view, disease is defined as a maladjustment of the human organ to the environment. But these are all not synonymous, as Susser has defined the term as disease is a physiological or physio dysfunction. Illness is the subject state of a person who feels aware of not being well. Sickness is a state of social dysfunction, that is a role that the individual assumes when ill. Then concept and of causation. In the ancient era, men cause of disease was considered from empirical cause, example bad air. But after germ theory of disease, the emphasis has shifted to microbes as the sole cause of the disease. In 19th and early part of 20th century, they revealed that there is one-to-one relation between causal agent and a disease. Thus, the disease model is disease agent, man, and disease. Okay. Then epidemiology trials. Basically, epidemiology trials consist of three components. Agent is the cause of infection and capability of transmitting infection. Host, a person or other animal, including birds or arthropods, that affords substitute subsistence or lodgement to an infectious agent under natural condition. Then environment includes surrounding and condition extreme to the humans or animal that cause or allow disease transmission. This triangle is based on the communication disease model and useful in showing the interaction and interdependency of agent, host, environment. Then Wing's theory, Wing's concept postulates that human disease and its concept are caused by a complex interplay of nine different factors. Okay, these factors are biological factor innate in a human being, behavioral factor concept with the individual lifestyle, then environmental factors as physical, chemical, and biological aspects of the environment, immunological factor, nutritional factor, genetic factor, social factor, spiritual factor, and services factor related to the various aspects of healthcare and services. Then multifactorial causation. With the advancement of age, disease were considered to be due to multi-factors. All non-communicable diseases, NCDs such as diabetes, hypertension, chronic heart disease, etc., occur due to multiple factors. Okay, these diseases are due to multiple factors. The new model includes all facts of the communicable disease model, and to make it more relevant and useful with regard to today's disease condition, disorders, defects, injuries, and death, it also reflects the cause of current illness and condition. Then web of causation. The model of disease causation was suggested by McMahon and Fugai in their book Epidemiology Principles and Methods. This model is used to study the chronic disease where disease agent is not known but in interaction of multiple factors such as outcomes. Okay, these chronic diseases are not caused by any microbes or anything. That is why the disease agent is non-known because these are mainly caused due to our lifestyle, stress, lack of physical activity, obesity, and many other activities. Okay, these are all chronic diseases. Then natural history of disease. So natural history of disease refers to the progress of a disease process in an individual over time in the absence of the treatment. For example, untreated infection with HIV causes spectrum of clinical problem, beginning at the time of the circumvention of primary HIV and termed with AIDS and usually death. So, if you are not treating a disease, what will happen? That will come under the natural history of a disease. The process begins with the approximate exposure to or accumulation of factors sufficient for the disease process to begin in a susceptible host. Natural history of disease can be classified as pre-pathogenic phase. This refers to the period of preliminary to onset of disease in man. The disease agents has no entered man, but the factors which favors his interaction with the human host already exist in the environment. The causative factors of disease may be classified as agent, host, or environment. And pathogenic phase, it begins when the entry of the disease agent in the susceptible host. Okay. So first factor is condition when the pathogen has pre-pathogenic phase, and when it enters, it becomes pathogenic phase. Iceberg of disease. This concept tells that all disease in a community is like an iceberg. The floating tip of the iceberg represents what the physician sees in the community, that is clinical cases. The vast submerged portion of the iceberg represents the hidden mass of disease, that is the latent in apparent pre-symptomatic and undiagnosed case and carriers in the community. Okay, this is the biggest problem with disease. What we see is very small part. The bigger part is never comes into the observation because it is hidden. So the water line represents the demographic between apparent and inapparent disease. Most of the chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, anemia, malnutrition, mental illness are the hidden part of the iceberg. Thus, its detection and control is a challenge to modern technique in the because we only see the heart attack is there. Okay, but why that heart attack took place? It has multiple factors which we rarely see. Okay, that is why the iceberg of a disease. Like iceberg, the disease is in the same way.
Sir, excuse me, sir. So
Yes,
definition of health always will write according to WHO.
yes. According to WHO, that is the latest definition of health.
Okay.
If the question has specified anyone, otherwise no, you will always write the WHO. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then environmental quality and human health. We have already discussed that the quality of life is directly dependent on the environment and impacts on human health. Yesterday also we discussed it. Then foundation of environmental health. So we know that Earth has many natural resources which makes human and other animals more comfortable, healthy, and ensure sustainability life. Therefore, humans and environment interaction on Earth is limitless. We are always in contact with the environment. So the imbalance in human environment interaction creates disease, injury, and destability related to the interaction between people and their environment. So the quality of life, years of health, life, lives, and healthy disputes are affected by the human and environment interaction. As per the World Health Organization, environment related to health because it is affected by all the physical, chemical, and biological factors which affects a person externally as well as their relative behavior. The foundation of environmental health is dependent on the following elements. Around 3.8 billion deaths are caused each year by smoky houses due to cooking or heating with insufficient fuel. About 1 in 8 deaths can be attributed to air pollution, mainly from non-communicable disease. So the foundation of environmental health is dependent on outdoor air quality, surface groundwater quality, sanitation and hygiene, toxic substances, hazardous waste, and healthcare facilities. Outdoor air quality, premature death, cancer, and long-term damage to respiratory and cardiovascular systems are the result of poor air quality, which we will suffer. Combustion of the fuel that we have yesterday also we have discussed. Then surface and groundwater, infectious agents or chemicals contaminating the surface and groundwater and infest both drinking and recreational water, which may lead from mild to severe illness. Okay. Unsafe water drinking can cause variety of diseases such as diarrhea and parasitic diseases. The drinking water supplies are contaminated in many of the sources all around the world. In sanitation and hygiene, use of facilities and services from the safe disposal of human excreta is defined as sanitation, which is a problem. Okay, hand wash, which many people do not wash their hands. Okay, so it hampers the hygiene. Okay, then toxic substance hazardous waste. The fundamental principle of environmental health is to reduce the exposure to toxins and hazardous waste in our daily lives. We use many chemicals, some of which are manufactured for specific purpose, while others are formed as unwanted product of various processes. So some of the chemical originated naturally. These chemicals or harmful substances may enter in the body through breathing, drinking, eating, or through contact. So in order to minimize the adverse effect of chemicals, many of the Initiatives at organization level as well as at programmatic level have been taken. Then homes and communities. The major implications for human health are related to quality of the housing. Characteristics such as living space, crowding, low or high indoor temperature, injury hazard in the home, water quality, and air quality. Okay, so these should always be good at our home so that we can have a healthy life. Then healthcare facility I have already discussed. Okay, we should have a proper sanitation, proper hygiene, proper waste management. If it is not there, then there is always problem. In low and middle income countries, there is still lack of water, sanitation, facility, proper energy supply, and occupational health services. So to generate considerable health care, ensure climate resilient and environmental sustainability of health system is an important to improve healthcare facilities across the world. Then human environment interaction. So the way people depend on the environment for food, water, timber, natural gas, etc. The way people adapt the environment to fulfill their own needs. The way people modify the environment positively or negatively, like drilling holes, building dams. So these are the three types of human environment interaction. Primary energy, cooking and heating, depending on the fuel and wood, and globally, nearly 2 billion people depends on the primary source of energy. Okay, as per the Terry study 2018, nearly 90% of GSC greenhouse gases emission in rural and suburban areas are from the forest sector. Okay, the fuel wood demand is leading to extensive forest degradation. The use of natural resources. Natural resources like timber, metal, and oil are used by people in day-to-day lives. Human survival depends on food and water, which we can get from the environment from for cooking at house, home and industrial purpose. People also require energy, which is majorly contributed by the environment. So various activities in the garments industry, transport services, construction, electronic devices, manufacturing, other items from different natural resources are used. So human being going further inside ecosystem and increasing their proximity to wildlife and ecosystem. Several studies have pointed out that zoonotic disease like Ebola, Nipah, SARA, MERS, and now COVID-19 have their origin in economic activities such as trade in wildlife, degradation of ecosystem, etc. For example, there is a significant emergency evidence that pandemics such as COVID-19 are triggering by another kind of mobility. Okay, then the use of natural resources first is deforestation, the necessity for essential things, create human environment interaction. So when the demand increases, it causes deforestation. We cut down forests. This demand could be for economic, agriculture, food, fuel, and building material, etc. So the replacement with new plant is essential for maintaining forest cover to prevent deforestation. However, it has been seen in countries like Ethiopia, Mexico, Brazil, America, Congo, and India, where a lot of their forests have been cleaned and not replaced with the new trees. And energy resources, energy is essential for every human being, which can be got from either renewable or non-renewable sources. So every sector like transport, communication, electrical, as well as our home and offices require energy. Fossil fuel is the major source of energy, but it is non-renewable energy source, which is not suitable in the long run. So this energy source of fossil fuel also has a negative impact on the. So we need to look for renewable energy source like wind power, hydroelectricity power, and solar power, which converts wind, water, and sun energy into electricity. Oil and gas drilling. The drilling of oil and gas has a lot of negative effect on the ecosystem. Oil spills impact birds through loss of their potential of hunting for food and also affects their habitation. Spilling may impact sea animals and also lead to poisoning of aquatic animals. which makes it unsafe for human consumption as well. Drilling for oil is also not safe as it can lead to injuries and death. The main product from drilling, methane, also contributes to the climate change and is the result of global warming, which creates long-term impacts on the environment. Then water resources, the high significant human and environmental interaction is the use of water resources. Water is used in for consumption in household, agriculture, and industry. The agriculture sector generally uses the largest quantity of the water, and the rising demand and overconsumption of fresh water is leading to unstable use of water resources. Also, the high consumption may reduce the percentage of fresh water accessible for present and upcoming generation, which is the biggest problem which we are going to face in near future if we are not going to take the water problem seriously, because our freshwater reservoirs are drying every day. You must be seeing news about cities like Bangalore, Mumbai are no more having water. Okay, because there are too many people in those cities and the water resource is very less. So this is really a very alarming condition for all of us, that we should be using the water resource very wisely, otherwise we will be facing a huge problem in near future. Then the major environmental factors affecting human health. This, free LPG connection. Okay, so that do people don't burn wood. The factors affecting human health in developed countries and the developed countries. In developing countries, inflation of agriculture, industrialization, and increased energy. Developed countries, urban air and water pollution. Lack of public infrastructure such as drinking water, sanitation, and lack of healthcare and industrial opening. Occurrence of asthma. Okay, so this is how factors affect human health in developing countries and developed countries. Air pollution. Okay, you all know what is air pollution. I do not need to tell you. Maybe I had taught you this in the last semester. Okay, death linked to outdoor air pollution. 21% are due to pneumonia, 20% from stroke, 31% of heart disease, and 19% from chronic obstruction of pulmonary disease, and 7% from lung cancer. So all these are due to your what? Outdoor and household air pollution. Okay. Climatic change and the major concern as it is posing risk to human health and well-being worldwide. We know that we must be feeling it also. Climate change nowadays, every day there is some rain. It becomes very cold. Then next day it is again hot. Okay, the climate is frequently fluctuating and it has become very uncertain. Okay, so in the year 2000, climate change was estimated to be responsible for approximately 2.4% of the worldwide diarrhea and 6% of malaria. The world temperature is expected to further rise during the century, implying increase in health threat for human population, especially in low-income countries. Okay, so environmental risk here is due to climate change, environmental risk, morbidity, mortality risk, extreme heat events, floods, drought, and fire. Health risk is vector-borne disease like malaria. Greenhouse gas emission, premature death, and deaths. So, large-scale and global environmental hazards to human health includes climate change, stratospheric ozone depletion, loss of biodiversity, change in hydrological system and the supply of fresh water, land degradation, and stress on food producing system. See, this is how climate change can hamper our human health. This is climate change, diverse pathway, human health. Okay, desertification and land degradation. So, it will what it will do? It will give pressure on production. Okay, then freshwater decline, water quantity and safety will decrease. Alternation, then biodiversity loss, ecosystem function, decline in several ecosystem, then stratospheric depletion of ozone, will be get exposure to the UV rays. So all these will help in will degrade our health. Then chemical circuit. Ecotoxicants are the toxic chemicals which pollute the environment. These chemicals are of two types, man-made and natural. The common characteristics of both toxicants are that they can exert a deleterious effect on living organisms at relatively small dose, measured in milligram or microgram per liter or per kilogram. Indeed, pollutants are discharges into the air and water, are disposed of in or on the ground, where they may be absorbed by plant or taken up by animals, which may successively be suffering due to their toxicity. All chemical, natural, and manufactured can cause toxicity in environment and human health. The full range exposure of all chemicals, naturally or manufactured in environment, can be together extraction and synthetic. These gas accident a lesson for us. An independent incident happened in the early hour of 7th May 2020 in Gopalpatnam, situated in the outskirts of coastal town of Visakhapatnam, where it was blanketed with pungent smell. This order was such that within 3 hours, people were seen rushing in panic, some carrying injuries on their shoulders, and unconscious bodies were seen lying on the street. This was a live example of human-environment interaction seen recently. When human interacted with the environment in an inappropriate way, these kind of accidents are a way of learning. In this incident, the reason behind the chaos was a gas leak that took place at the LG polymer plant situated near the locality. The incident happened when workers were getting the storage tank ready for operation. The storing of the stearin, a chemical compound toxic to brain and lung, is thought to be a possible cause behind the accident. According to National Green Tribune, the noxious leak resulted in death of 12 people and 22 animals, while hundreds were injured and thousands have been reported sick. The gas leak had various impact on the health of the human. Many victims reported irritation in the nose and throat, burning sensation in the eyes, with few complaints of loss of vision. Okay. The natural and anthropogenic environment. Human activities affects the environment through the anthropogenic activities. The term anthropogenic was first here. The anthropogenic activity term was sometimes used in the context of pollution emission that are produced from human activities. So these impact broadly applies to the all major human impacts on the environment. Okay. See. Environmental change and ecosystem were example of the health impacts. Climate change, cytopenic erosion, forest cleaning and land coverage, direct health impact, flood, heat waves, water shortage, landslides, increased exposure to ultraviolet. Okay. Then land degradation and desertification, wetland loss and damage, biodiversity loss, ecosystem mediated health impact, alteration of infectious diseases, reduction of food yield, malnutrition, stunting, depletion of natural medicines, mental health, personal community impact, and aesthetic cultural improvement. Then freshwater depletion, urbanization, damage to coastal reefs, indirect refers health consequences of livelihood loss, population displacement includes slum dwelling, conflict in inappropriate adaptation. So these are how these changes or environmental escalating human presence on global environment can cause health issues to us. So what are the causes? First is overpopulation. We all know that our population needing due to which our needs are also increasing in overconsumption. Obviously, when population increases, consumption will also increase. Then technology, the application to the over results in unavoidable and unexpected environmental impacts. Agriculture, intensification of agriculture, introduction of species, new species are planned may bring major and permanent change to the environment. Okay. Then energy harvesting and consumption. We are always trying to harvest energy, that is also a problem. Then light pollution, artificial light at night is one of the most obvious physical changes that humans have made to the biosphere and the easiest form of pollution to observe from the space. Then manufacturing products such as cleaning agents, leather, paper, paint, these are also contributing to the environment. Then mining, okay. The process of mining is responsible for major environmental impacts like erosion, formation of sinkholes, loss of biodiversity, and contamination of soil, groundwater, and surface water. So, mass extinction, definition, and decline in the biodiversity. These are the main effect of earth-bending activity. Okay. Then habitat destruction, we are destroying habitat of oceans, of lands, okay, by mining, by extraction of oil. Then land degradation, human activity, degrading land. Then ocean acidification because of the increase in CO2 in the atmosphere, which get dissolved in the seawater and decreases the pH and make the ocean acidic, due to which coral reefs are being destroyed. Then ozone depletion, describe related events observed since the 1970s, a steady lowering of about 4% of total amount of ozone in the Earth's atmosphere, ozone layer, and much larger springtime decrease in the stratosphere ozone around Earth's polar region. This is plastic pollution, pesticide pollution, sewage pollution, and oil pollution. Impact on environment due to human activity. Then public health and management. How will manage public health? First is epidemiology. Epidemiology is a study of distribution of determinants of health-related state or events in specific population and the application of this study to control of human problems. The first is it's a branch of medical science which treats the different people have different definition for epidemics. Okay, the science of mass phenomenon of infectious disease, the study of any disease as a mass phenomenon, the study of distribution and determination of a disease frequency. The first is management, efficient and effective utilization of resources, and to get people to work harmoniously together in order to achieve specific objective. This is what management is. Then public health, the science and the art of preventing disease, prolong life, and promoting physical health and effective efficiency through organized community effort from the sanitation of the environment and the control of community infection. Okay, the until field of the public health. Then public health surveillance. Okay, root and regulatory accumulation of all pendant data concerning the occurrence of the disease. Okay, disease data, continuous analysis on interpretation of the data, then continuous scrutiny of all aspects of occurrence and spread of a disease, ongoing systematic collection, analysis, and interpretation of health data, essential to plan and implement and evaluate the public health practices. Then surveillance is a very broad term and is used in the concept of disease, nutrition, and demography. Surveillance comprises of the following: individual surveillance, close observation of infected person till they are disease free; local population surveillance like malaria, polio houses to house survey during outbreak; national population surveillance for eradication diseases such as smallpox and kidney worm infection; then international surveillance for disease of international reportation, example polio, influenza, malaria, etc., from timely warning of the national government. Steps is collecting of data of surveillance, compliance of the data, analysis and interpretation, then follow-up action, feedback, then dispensation. So this is how the surveillance system works. Okay. First, data will be collected, then recorded, then information will be generated, then analyzed, interpreted, and decision will be made. Feedback, action. Okay. Objective of public health surveillance: to early detect public health events requiring rapid investigation and response, to monitor the trend of disease and early identification of any deviation, and enable an early response and effectively guide disease control program. Identify high-risk group or geographical area to target interventions, generate hypotheses and stimulate research, evaluation of interventions and control measures, monitoring progress of health program performance. Then data collection, the most important questions to be asked. So epidemic prone disease, disease covered under National Health Program, disease reduced because of the public health action, but can re-emerge, international requirement, example WHO notification. Then what should be collected? Collects only relevant data. Okay. Then collection and reporting must be simple and easy for clinical health workers, biology staffs and others. Data on case and death, age, identification of the high risk population is essential. So for that we need to know the age, then sex, gender differences, occurrence of disease like accidents are more common among males. Date of onset of the symptoms, it helps in identifying the index case, first case of fever in the community, describing the means the patient zero, describing the course of epidemic, whether the outbreak is on a rise, scale or downfall. Outcome of illness and symptoms, it provides indirect information on quality of care provided to the patient in case of high case fatality. It raises suspicion of wrong diagnosis. In immunization state in children, they if the children are immunized or not. And residential address, it helps in identifying high risk area and to understand natural history of. Then other data, environmental example, coliform counts, residential chlorine level in water, air pollution, vector mosquitoes, density breeding sites. In animals, in case of zoonotic disease, rat fall, blood flu, animal rabies. Then pre-create for effective surveillance system. So for ensuring an effective surveillance system, the district health officer, PHC medical officer must also be clear about what information to gather, how often to compare and analysis data, and how and to whom to report, what performa or format to be used, what action to be taken. Then identifying the case, it should be standard, whether possible, acceptable, and understandable. Then suspect use of syndromes to identify by health workers. Then probable use of clinical diagnosis to combine with epidemiology. Then confirm use of the laboratory confirmation of probable diagnosis. Have a list of all reporting units, monitor completeness and timeliness of the report, regularly analysis data, deciding on innate appropriate public health action, providing feedback. So sources, they are dispensaries, hospital, private practitioners, rehabilitation center, laboratories, state traditional healers, faith healers, vital record, registration of birth and death, veterinary, entomological study centers, disease notification registration, cause of death certificate, data link, all these are the places where we can collect data. Then vital record linkage system is a method or process of assembling different set of medical charts or other records of employment history and augmenting this with vital records. Example, hospital record linked to death certificate. These records provide a broad base of information. Okay. Characteristics of good surveillance system, a system for unique identifying a person even if he changes his name. Method for abstracting and storing relevant information from vital health records. A technique for error-free matching of bits of information obtained from different sites and setting over a prolonged period. Advantages is large number of observations are available. Epidemiological studies using recording mostly use historical coherence. Example, using employment of previous medical records and searching on computerized death records the cause of death. Importance to know the magnitude and severity of a pollution indicator and set priority. Identify high risk area strategies, modify strategies for preventing and controlling environmental health hazards. Observe trends of pollution and relative disease indicators, estimate requirements of resources, document effective impact of interventions of pollution control, simulate research on any interventions on pollution measurement, preventing and prevention and control, early warning signals in case of any outbreak that warrants investigation. To monitor change in disease pollution through a lab testing. So all these we can do if we have a very good surveillance system and can prevent people from getting disease and can live a healthy life. Economics in environmental health. It is understood that as a field inquiry whose subject matter is optimum use of the resources for the care and seek and the promotion of the health. So health economy is defined as that which seek inter alia to alien to quantify over time and the resource used in health services delivery, their organization function and their efficiency with which the resource allocated and the use for health purpose and the effect of preventing, curating and rehabilitation of the health services. Important terminology efficiency. It is doing things right, okay, efficiently. The purpose oriented concept of how things and done with optimal utilization. Effectiveness. It is doing right things. Efficiency is doing things right, and effectiveness is doing right things. This is the outcome oriented concept indicating that cost, life saving, by a particular intervention defect cost effectiveness, and cost is the monumental measure of all those that are consumed while performing, and resources are the things that are consumed while performing any activity. Concept of health economy for this health aspect. Health has to be defined. We already have defined health. I will no more be defining it. Then economic asset, concept of cost in case of health and health services. Costs are incurred both by the producer of health services through the use of staff, building, equipment, maintenance, etc., and by the consumer who use transport of the health. Applications in environmental health. There are different initiatives that can be taken for environmental health promotions like air purification at public places, cleaning of individuals, the presence of morbidities attributed to pollution and awareness generating among mass getting people and weight mopping of the village. Initiates a national and state level integrated disease surveillance program. Integrated disease surveillance (IDP) is a decentralized state-based surveillance program in the country. It is intended to detect early warning signal of impending disease outbreak and help initiate any effective response in a timely manner. It also expected to provide essential data to monitor progress on ongoing disease control program and help allocate health resources more efficiently. Key elements of IDP is detection and notification of health events, investigation and confirmation, epidemiology and clinical history, collection of data, analysis and interpretation, feedback and dissemination of result and response. So integration is an important aspect of IDSP. Level of health and non-health sectors, policies, PCBs and water supplies, include non-communicable disease and communicable disease, laboratory findings, private sectors and NGOs, academic institutions and medical colleges. Important is we have triple burden infection disease, those infectious diseases that are prevalence and for which prevalence measures are not yet available, diseases that are prevalent because of insufficient public health measures, disease treated by the prevalence of vectors as well as vertebrates, fuma, and the ecological determinants which are specific to our geoclimatic features. So, objective is to establish a decentralized distraction-based system of surveillance for communicable and non-communicable disease, so that timely and effectively public health actions can be initiated. Then to integrate existing surveillance so as to avoid duplication and facilitation sharing of information across all disease control program and other stakeholders. Then components are integrating and decentralizing disease surveillance and response mechanism, strengthening public health laboratories, using information technology and networking in disease surveillance, human resource development, operation and activities and responses, monitoring and evaluation. So public health initiatives for promoting of environmental health. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. You all know this.
Yeah.
Swachh Bharat
Yes, sir.
Abhiyan. So that we keep the clean, open, deficiency free ODP campaign, so that openly we are not littering. Okay, and Ministry of Drinking Water. Okay, then Darwaja Ban, it was also done so that everyone should be having a proper sanitation. Okay, and no one does defecation in the open. Okay, so all these programs are being promoted by government for promoting environmental health. Okay, so any doubts you can ask me tomorrow because it is already time today. Okay, we go through it. Any doubts you can ask me tomorrow. Okay,
Okay,
tomorrow
sir.
we'll start with
Namaskar.
block 3.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
namaskar. Good night to all. Thank you.
Good night, sir. Namaskar.
Good question.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
Sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, on the day
Hello.
of exam also class will be there now.
I don't
Hello.
know that. Hello. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Hearing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh,
Yes.
sir,
Tell.
which type of question they will ask in MEVL 12?
See, the question will be totally basic related to the experiments which has been done, the principle and procedure like that. Okay. No
Oh,
high-fi questions will be asked.
okay,
Okay.
sir. Okay,
So
sir.
don't worry. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Namaskar, sir.
Welcome. Thank you all.
Okay, sir. Good night.
Good night.